We'll be starting in a few seconds from now. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. It's officially webinar o'clock. How are you doing? Maybe just tell me in the chat, how are you doing today? How do you feel today? Do you feel hungry or angry, happy, expectant? What mood are you operating in right now? Just type in the chat. Type in the chat. You can say, like, my name is Angeline and I feel happy, or my name is Esther and I feel excited. Any emotion is welcome. Guys, can you hear me? Please confirm that you can hear me. Oh, yes. My name is Hannah. Give me a second. Oh, yes. Good day. Happy to be on here. Mario Bong, nice to meet you. Hannah, hi, Hannah. I'm glad you're excited. Cletus Paul, the mood I am operating on today is I want money. Oh, relate. My name is Esther and I feel excited. My name is Kiwang and I'm feeling keen. You can also just let me know where you're from. That is also okay. My name is Angela and I am joining you from Uganda. And I am the operations officer here at Yoja. Hannah says she's joining us from Ethiopia, the land of origins. Nice, nice. Okay. Yes, I'm seeing a few more come in. Let us know how you are. Let us know how you are. Cletus Paul is joining us from Nigeria. How is Nigeria today, Paul? How is the weather like? My name is Prudentia and I'm doing good from Kenya, Mandy Hills. Nice to meet you. Mandy Hills, happy to listen to you. Oh, I'm very, very excited to see and listen to you too. I'm Dalitso Moronia from Malawi. Wow, okay. My first time meeting a Malawian. Nice to meet you, Dalitso. And Fidel from Kenya, Kisumu, Dala. Happy to join you today. Happy to have you with us, Fidel. Happy to have you with us. Kiwang from Nigeria. It is sunny this morning. Have you people had rain? Like, have you guys had rain? Most of my Nigerian friends keep telling me it's very sunny that side. I'm wondering if the rainy season has finally arrived and gone back or not. Adja Aser from Togo. Nice to meet you. I hope I pronounced your name well. Please forgive me if I butchered it. Elvis Odiambo from Kisumu, Kenya. Ngendo Ubong, joining from Kenya. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Ngendo. Oh, Patience says they have winds. So yes, the rains are here. I'm excited for you people because I almost thought you're turning into a desert. Jude from Niger. Nice. I'm thrilled to participate. Yeah, I'm thrilled to have you two here. And Daniel Morongo says, He's Daniel Morongo, of course, and he's joining us from Nakuru City in Kenya. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Daniel. We're just going to do this for a few seconds and then we're going to officially start. I've not seen some people. Let me first greet some people. Let's see. Oh, hi, Heba. Hi. Oh, the leads who I've seen. Hi, Heba. Hi, Esther. Hi, Fidel. Hi, Gabriel. Oh, Gabriel, yes. Jude, yes. Hi, Lavin. Hi, Juliet. Hi, Kinua. Hi, yes. Hi, Prudentia. Hi, Nikki. Hi, Ngweso Aja. I really am butchering that. Hi, Mary Vaughan. Hi, everyone. I do hope you're actually feeling well. And I'm very excited for the discussion that we're going to have today. Okay, good afternoon, Kinua. Kinua Jacob from Nakuru City in Kenya. Cletus says raining season has arrived in Nigeria, but the truth is the impact of climate change is having its toll on the season as it is not always moist the way it is supposed to be. Oh, sorry about that. Are they like too heavy that they're causing floods or sorry about that? Okay, it's officially time for us to start. Like I said, my name is Angela Alakid, and I'm very, very excited for the meeting that we're having today. It's it's a meeting, but it's also a conversation that we're going to have together. And I already like the energy that we are sharing in the chat. The chat is going to be active. The chat is going to be very, very active. So yeah, keep it active, keep it active. Like I said, my name is Angela Alakit. I am the operations officer here at Yoja. I work with most of the people you're going to see here today, and it's a very exciting place to be at. So we're going to have a discussion today about mental health and a couple of other things, the letters that we never sent. I don't know how many of us grew up in a generation that writes letters. Personally, I did. When we were in high school, we used to write a lot of letters to now let me call them suitors. I'll just say suitors to suitors, but also to our siblings who are in other schools, and they'll take like 2 weeks to go. But yeah, and also they would examine us on letter writing. I don't know if any of you got examined on that during high school or primary school. I don't know, but yeah, so that's how I came to know about letter writing. But today we're going to talk about a sort of like symbolic kind of letter writing. The letters that you write, the things that you want to say, but you cannot say because you might feel misunderstood, or you might feel like you're crossing the line or something, or you might feel like no one else understands what you want to say. I want to tell you that every human experience you have, there is someone else who has had it before. And you're definitely going to, Ngweso is asking if there's a translation in French. Let me confirm with you on that, and then yes, we'll set that up. Yes, back to the letters. And so today we are going to talk about those letters that we never send. In short, we're going to talk about the emotions that we never truly share with other people, the things that we see, the things that we feel, the things that are hard for us to comprehend, the things that sit with us, even at the end of the day, when, you just sit in your bed and this overwhelming feeling comes upon you, the guilt that we feel as young people sometimes, the identity crisis, all these things we want to say, but we never say. The moment you open your phone, you're seeing news from all parts of the world, and it's never good news, it's always the bad news, and it takes a toll on us and on our mental health and in the way that we see the world. And so today we're going to get into that discussion. We're going to talk about some of those symbolic letters that we don't send, but we're also going to practicalize it. We're going to have a conversation. I want to hear from you. And towards the end of this, we're going to actually write some of those letters. So yeah, stick around for that. Like I said, my name is Angela, for those who have just joined in, and I'm going to be your moderator for the rest of the conversation today. May is Mental Health Month. And we at Georgia take that very seriously because we recognize that mental health cannot exist. The mental health of someone cannot exist exclusively from them. That whatever they are starts to flow from how well they feel in their mental health, in their minds. So we take that very seriously. So to celebrate Mental Health Month, this is why we are having the webinar today. And this is why we're having these conversations, so that we who work in these spaces, who are operating in these spaces, and everyone else who has joined in, we can have these much needed conversations. Personally, the first time I encountered anything to do with mental health was around 2016. I don't know if you guys remember this series that was released. It was called 13 Reasons Why. It's about this girl that wrote 13 reasons why she unalived herself, for lack of a better word. And it's the first time I encountered the fact that, oh, there's something that could be going on in your head. And just because it's unseen, and maybe people see that you're awake and you're doing all these things, but that thing, those feelings, those thoughts are there and they can influence the decisions that you take. So it's the first time I encountered any conversation that has to do with mental health. It's the first time I encountered terms like depression or depression that could lead to suicide or any of the things. Now, the movie itself, the series, sorry, was rather criticized for a few other things. And maybe you could check it out when you have time. But for me, that is where my discovery of mental health started. And I was way older than that. I was at uni. I would also want to know from you, how did your mental health journey start? How did you first encounter this term that we sometimes feel is maybe complicated or, does not fit into workspaces or something? How did you encounter it? But even as we do that and reflect on that, I am going to share a poll. Remember, I asked how we are, and I got some interesting responses. My friends in Nigeria told me it's raining. My friends, I've made friends from Nakuru. Yes, I've made friends from Togo, from Malawi. Guys, I'm very excited. So I'm going to share a poll on the screen, and then we're going to answer. For the fourth question, feel free to type in the chat box. Do let me know when you're able to see the poll. Can you be able to see it? Confirm with me in the chat. Please confirm with me if you're able to see it. Yes, Hannah says she can see it. That is wonderful. Thank you. Or also you could use the React features. So the first question we have is, of course, have you ever felt overwhelmed after a period at work? Many times, you could tick that, or a few times, never. Yes. Then the second one is, have you ever gone home still wondering about a story or an event? Have you ever gone home still wondering about a story or an event? It doesn't even have to be going home to I've left the story somewhere and then I'm going home. No, it could be that I watched a story on the news and it stayed with me. Has that ever happened to you? So if many times, click that. If a few times, please indicate that. And if never, that is also part of it. So the third question is, have you felt helpless in any circumstances in the course of your work? Have you felt helpless in any circumstances in the course of your work? Please confirm with me that you guys can actually see the poll. Okay. That's nice. Okay, so I'm going to give us a few minutes as we answer, and then I'll end the poll. Just a few minutes. If you need any clarity on anything, I am here. So for the fourth question, when you reach the fourth question, please answer it in the chat box. The fourth question that reads, what are the most common stressors in your work? In simple terms, what stresses you in the line of your work? And if you're joining in as a student too, or what stresses you as a student, just put it in the chat box. I'll be reading them out. The rest we can indicate on the poll. So just a few minutes and then we'll end the poll. And for sharing. Keep it coming, keep it coming. Today we are sending those letters that we never send. Your boss is not on the call, and if they are, you can feel free to message. You know, in the chat box, there is that feature of you can send to all participants, or you can send to the admin. So you can share with any of the admins or the hosts if it's something that is private, something you just want to let out. Yes. So some of the things you could tell me about, even in the chat box, is what are some of the things that have made you feel overwhelmed? And that's in response to our question 1. For that period, what are some of the things that have made you feel overwhelmed? But also, what's that one story that you carried with you when you went home or went to sleep? Maybe after watching news or after being on social media, what's that one story that you carried? Even from your line of work, in the line of peace work, you find that we engage in a lot of things that, in a lot of, you read a lot of stories that are considered quote unquote inhumane. And some of those things are very gross. You keep wondering, what were they thinking? So some of those stories can stay with people. So I would want to hear which particular story. And then if you've ever felt any hopeless in any of the circumstance, which one was it? You could share with us if that's something you'd want to do. And then, of course, for the final question, it says, what are the most common stressors in your work? What stresses you the most? So we have a few seconds and then I will end the poll and then we'll share some of the reflections that we have. Okay. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing. Thank you so much. I'll end the poll now. Thank you so much for participating. Yes. So the results of our poll, I'm going to share them. The results of our poll indicated that 69% of us who participated in the poll say that we have felt overwhelmed after a period of work. That is very relatable. And then a big percentage of us have also said that we have carried a story home with us. There's a story that has stayed with us and we've carried it home. We've gone home still wondering about it, or we've gone to bed still wondering about something we saw on the news or on social media. And then number 3, when we talked about feeling helpless in any of the circumstances in the course of your work, many of us, some of us said it's actually equal, that 39%, 38% of us felt that a few times, we felt that, and then the other percentage said many times, and then the other said never. So let's see. Okay. Give me a second. Thank you. Okay, for question 4, remember, we're answering it in the DM. Let's see. Daniel said, too many demands from families and friends. I think that's some of the common stressors. Too many demands from families and strength. And I don't know if there's any African youth here who can't relate to, there's this term called black tax. It's not a bad thing, but sometimes it carries a certain stress. Chaotic work environment. Thank you again. I think that's it. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. From the discussions, of course, from the poll itself, we saw that a big percentage of us feel overwhelmed. And then Fidel says difficulty switching off the brain after a heavy day. Yes, I relate with that. I can understand that. Thank you guys for sharing. If you have any more insights, we could put them in the chat, and I'll feel free to read them. Yes. So thank you guys once again for being open about this. Today, like I said, we are opening up. Yes, we are reflecting. We are sharing things that we would never share, that maybe we would never talk about in certain spaces. We are letting go. So without further ado, I want to invite the Executive Director of Yoja, Miss Angeline Abo, to come and share with us some opening remarks and to officially open this session. Thank you so much, Madam Director. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Angela. Please confirm that you can see my. It's an honor to be here. And I think the conversations just started well. And this is a very important conversation, even just from the heading. We are waiting to read those letters that you have never sent, because mental health is something that we all have to be aware of. And I don't come to this conversation just as someone who works in the TJ space, but also someone who had earlier worked on with children matters and gender issues in the human rights space. And these spaces usually demand a lot of empathy. And, we engage constantly with pain, trauma, injustice, and very difficult human rights experiences that we get to hear. And of course, our role is to fight for the rights of these people. While, of course, our work is very meaningful and it is necessary, because if not us, then who then would do this work? But it also carries a lot of emotional weight that is rarely discussed. And, as advocates, as peace builders, we spend so much time supporting other people and listening to other people's stories, but we forget our own. We forget to take care of ourselves. And we absorb a lot of emotions, we carry a lot of burdens. And I remember in my first experience, since everyone was sharing their experience, my first experience working with an organization called FIDA Kenya, I used to volunteer for them. And my first case involved a child who was sickling, and we were trying to fight for the right of this child to just live and survive. So for the father to provide that financial support and insurance for this child to be able to go to hospital. Unfortunately, before even the hearing date, the child passed on. And this is one of the stories that I will forever carry with me. I'm glad that the organization provided the opportunity for me to talk about it and heal. But it's one story that I will never forget. And, this is just one of the difficult realities of the work that we do in the human rights space, in the peace and justice space. And a lot of us are trained to be strong for others, but we are not taught how to take care of ourselves at the end of the day, which is very important. And if you're not careful, then we might find ourselves in a very, very dark space. So there is a need for us to continue showing the support to the communities that we serve, but you also have to protect our mental and emotional well-being. And that's why I'm very glad that Yoja, organized this webinar and created a safe space for people to speak about their realities of their work and their experiences. And particularly during this mental Health Month. This is quite timely. And I believe that the conversations that we will have today will sort of help break the silence of mental health within this particular space. So I don't want to take a lot of time because I believe I want to give more time to the people to be able to share their stories and to share their experiences. And I hope that all of us will honestly reflect on some of the challenges that we face and also learn from one another. So thank you all for being here and engage. And I'm looking forward to the conversations that will be had today. So karibuni sana to my brothers and sisters from Kenya. It is afternoon here, and for those who are still in the morning hours, welcome. And yeah, looking forward to this meaningful conversation. Over to you, moderator.
Thank you so much, Angeline. Thank you so much, Angeline. Angeline said something that I quite resonate with, that for the people who are supposed to, help others and, listen to them and be strong for them, there is an emotional burden that we carry that we cannot sometimes share with others. So I think I could just truly, truly relate to that. For the next part of our session, I'm going to invite Mr. Gabriel Obong. Mr. Gabriel Obong is our mental health and psychosocial officer here. He's a counseling psychologist and he holds a master's degree in counseling psychology and is currently undergoing his PhD program. With a strong research focus on psychological trauma, secondary traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, mental health, and social support, Obong is dedicated to advancing the field of mental health through both academic and practical avenues. Gabriel also works at Kalimoni Mission Hospital and he plays a pivotal role in the mental health department, administrative functions, and delivers workshops and seminars. He's also passionate and committed to issues of justice, social justice, reconciliation, and the African political discourse. He currently serves, like I said, as a mental health and psychosocial officer for Georgia. Everyone, let's welcome Gabriel. Gabriel, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Angela. Glad to have all of you this morning. Like she said, my name is Gabriel, and I hope that our conversation this morning or afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from, would be very, very impactful, and that we would go home with something with us today. Today, I would like us to, like the theme says, we are looking at the letters that we never send, but we're looking at conversations around mental health, especially for professionals who are in the field. Maybe I can just put on my camera briefly so that I do not remain mysterious. So this is me. My name is Gabriel. I'm happy to have all of you on the call today. Our conversations today is around mental health, especially for the professionals within the field. Many a times we take care of other people, and sometimes we are left behind, and it raises a lot of concerns. And so, an event like this helps us then to look back at the work that we do and our own experiences. And I hope that we would feel included in the mental health talk, especially as we raise awareness on mental health. When we look at the space around peace work, justice, advocacy, democracy, all of us are actually trying to work towards the betterment of society, towards the betterment of people's lives. We are working with people who might have undergone injustices, conflict, war, trauma. And the whole idea is to see how we can make life better for these people. And it's not an ordinary space. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with it. There's a lot of putting out of ourselves out there to be able to help our sisters and our communities to heal and to restore after conflict and war. And so you find that most of us in this space listen to a lot of stories of, around violence, displacement, injustices, and suffering. And that is what we do. We read about it. For those involved in research, you keep reading to write more research. For those on the ground, you attend to clients who tell you these stories again and again. For those of us who have done case studies, this is always the case. These are the kind of issues that we work with. And so we are either witnessing it directly or we are hearing it from the experiences of people. So it's either primary or secondary. And we hear stories of pain, stories of anguish, stories of difficulties, stories of suffering with the people that we work with. And so naturally, in the work that we do around justice, peace, and transitional justice, the focus usually is on the competency of the practitioner. So we look at policies, the systems, the reports, the reforms, the peace agreement. So most of the times we focus on the process, and there's the temptation then to leave out the practitioner who is involved in this work. What we are forgetting is that it is a human being who is carrying out this difficult task, and their experiences that shape us as we go along. There are experiences that we never remain the same once we hear about them or experience them firsthand. And so the question that we should be asking ourselves is, what does this
at the bank you want to expand, they will question you. They'll be like, hey, maswali yote haya, yeah, maswali yote haya, they want to give you money. Yeah?
Hello? Okay. So the questions we should be asking ourselves is, what does this work do to us? What does it do to people? And when we think of mental health, most of the times, unfortunately, we think of the extreme cases. We think of maybe people who have been diagnosed with things like schizophrenia, PTSD. Those are extreme cases. But I want us to change our mindset, our understanding of what mental health is. When we talk about mental health, we are talking about everyday experiences that we go through as people, our functioning as people, our beliefs, our cultural, spiritual, even our ideological beliefs all have an impact on us as people. And so when we talk about mental health, we are talking about things that govern our daily emotional life. And that could include how we handle stress, how we cope with difficult experiences. It could also include how we continue functioning emotionally over time. When I talk about functioning, let me give you a practical example. We are looking at your daily schedule. So in a day, what do you do? So for a working class person, maybe I wake up by 5 a.m., I dress, take a cup of coffee. If I have to check one or two emails, I check, and then I'm off to work. When I'm at work, there are certain tasks that I'm supposed to perform. I am supposed to relate with my colleagues in a certain way to be able to do the work where I am. Then after work, maybe I go to the gym. After the gym, I come home, have supper, have conversation with my wife, my partner, or my kids, and then I do one or two things, and then I call it a day. That is normal functioning, right? That is how we function. But when we notice that the way our daily structure, our daily timetable, when we notice that that is affected, then we begin to ask ourselves, what is happening to us? What has affected my daily structure, my daily functioning? And also, mental health also has to do with how we process pain after a difficult experience. It could be experiences of loss. It could be experiences of illness. How do we process that pain? Also, how we rest. Most of us work all the time, but we need to understand that rest is part of our mental health. It contributes to our mental health. It makes us refreshed and better, and also how we relate to others. So when we look at all these things put together, we begin to understand mental health from a very different perspective. It's not just the extreme cases of psychological issues, but also it's about the daily functioning, what we do every day in our lives, in our workplaces, in our families, even in our private lives. What we do there affects our health. And so when we talk about heavy situations or how it affects our mental health, we are talking about issues of struggling with sleep. How does my sleep patterns, how have they changed over time based on difficult experiences that I've witnessed or based on stress? We were asked a question about carrying the stories of people with us even after leaving work. How do we replay these painful experiences of other people and ourselves, even when the experience is far behind us? How do we keep on replaying those experiences? How do we feel? What is the feeling that comes when we think about a difficult experience that we have witnessed? Is there a certain amount of exhaustion? Is there a certain amount of helplessness? Do we find ourselves withdrawing from people because we no longer want to have contact with them? And that happens when our mindset of the world is affected. For example, in my country, Nigeria, there's a lot of evil things happening in terms of kidnapping, in terms of banditry, people are being killed. And so my mindset then can begin to change to say, I no longer trust people. I need to be very careful. And so what happens is I begin to withdraw from other people to protect my space. See how an event like that also affects how I relate with the people around me and how I understand the world. There's certain aspects where we become numb, where we experience some kind of pain over and over again, and we begin to say, it's normal, it happens. We use that a lot in our language, but when we use that, we need to ask ourselves what is happening. And also there's a feeling of guilt. I should have done more. How many of us have left our workplaces feeling I should have helped that person more than that? I wish I had extra 1 or 2 coins to give to them to be able to address that issue. And we begin to feel guilty because I couldn't do that. All these challenges are things that we face in the work that we do. Certain experiences then have shaped how we see the world, how we see others, and even how we see ourselves. And so the conversation around mental health is important. Now, unfortunately, in the work that we do, in the spaces where we are, as professionals, we are the ones who are expected to remain calm. I find this a lot in the hospital where I work, where people come in with emergencies, everybody is freaking out, but the healthcare workers are not allowed to freak out, right? You are supposed to be very perfect at that particular point to attend to whatever is happening. And so because of that, we are expected to show some amount of we're asked to be strong, if I should use the word strong. We are the ones who advocate for justice. It is our work then to document the stories of ills and transgressions. We are also expected to continue functioning even when things are difficult. So, for example, for a social worker who is working somewhere in the northern part of Nigeria, where there's a lot of kidnapping and banditry and people are being killed, you're expected to still do your community work and reach out to people, even with all that is happening. And so, in a sense, you're not supposed to show some amount of weakness, or the work is not supposed to affect you. That is how the space is. But we are saying that is not the reality of things. We are human beings, and we also have a lot of emotions and feelings to what happens. These stories and experiences stay in our mind. We go home every day exhausted, hearing the same thing and the same thing, the same thing and the same thing about kidnapping, about people who have been abused in war situations over and over again. These stories and these incidences have impact on our well-being. So what happens is that because we're expected to be strong, most people then become quiet. They no longer talk about these issues because if I express them, I am seen as somebody who is not ready for the work. I am seen as being weak. And so I have to man up, or I have to be strong and not say anything about it. So when I'm asked, how are you? I have to automatically say, I'm fine. Everything is okay. But that is not the situation, and that is not the reality. We are not machines. We have emotions and feelings, and they need to be addressed. Now, what happens when there's a lot of pressure from the work environment or in our settings for us not to feel a lot of things, to act strong, and also this when we suppress, what happens? We are caught up in a place where we bottle up a lot of things. But the truth is that at some point, the pressure within that bottle is going to burst out, and that is when we have reached the limit. And so the conversation then we are having now is to say we do not need to get to that limit where things have become so worse that the bottle has burst out. I think most of us have used pressure cookers. How we know that the main aim of the pressure cooker is to maintain a lot of steam within the pot, to be able to then create a lot of energy to soften whatever we are cooking. So that is what happens when we put a lot of things inside without pressing. At some point, they will boil out. The question is, when is that going to happen? You do not know when that is going to happen and the impact that might have on our lives. So we do not need to get to that point. And so usually when we are faced with difficulties, we find ways to cope. Coping is our way of going through life, our way of handling difficult situations, our way of still going through life depending on what has happened. I want us to look at it from 4 different perspectives. The aspect of coping. You have the overworkers, where we feel so burdened, we feel so overwhelmed that we then we begin to give ourselves more work. We feel when we work more, things might get better. This is an unhelpful way of coping, because we feel the more I do, maybe the more it's going to be, the more impact I might make, or the more the world might become a better place. So there's never a time I'm resting. I'm at work, I work. When I get back home, I still have something I have to do. Then you have the disconnected, those who emotionally shut out and they put other people out. They don't want to feel what is happening. They become disconnected from their true selves. You find that with this type of coping then enables people to numb the feeling. They become irritable very fast, angry at the world, everybody around them. They become emotionally distant. This is another unhelpful way of coping. Then you have those of us who carry these stories within us silently, without sharing it with others. This has unhelpful impact on our health. Like the story of the pressure cooker I gave earlier on. And then there's another way of coping where we now turn to some other things to relieve the burden. So we turn to drinking, excessive drinking, substance use, and other behaviors as a way of coping. The problem with this is that these coping mechanisms are problematic. They bring more complications. So the things that we are trying to run away from actually remain unaddressed. And so even when I drink and I feel happy for a short time, after 30 minutes to 1 hour, the intoxication wears off and I'm back facing my issues that I left behind. So which means I have not addressed the issue. And so unhelpful coping mechanisms actually take us down the drain when we look at how we cope with the difficulties that we are going through. And so there's need then to develop healthier coping mechanisms that make us stay afloat of the water, things that bring us health, things that make us express, things that take away the burden. And so you find a lot of people then go to the gym, a lot of people do a lot of running, hiking, swimming, music, art, dancing, all those ways of expression are helpful because they help us handle a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, a lot of disappointments that we might be going through in our work. So when we leave this conversation today, one of the questions I want you to ask yourself is, what are some of the coping mechanisms that I might have? And are they healthy or unhealthy? If unhealthy, what can I do about them? And if they are healthy, how can I continue on that path? And so for us as professionals within this space, it is important for us to talk to people that we trust about what we are going through. It is important to find time to rest without feeling guilty. It is important to take breaks away from content or materials that we think are very emotionally heavy for us. It is important to spend time with friends, families, our loved ones. it is important to engage in physical activity. If you believe in God, then prayer can be one of those spiritual activities, can be a way of handling some of those stresses that come with the work that we do. Journaling and documenting is one of the ways that we can do that. Also, professional support, that we seek therapy when necessary. When we feel that we're overwhelmed and we need to talk to a professional, we need to take advantage of that. We need to acknowledge what we are going through rather than suppressing it and pretending that it's not there. And so there's need then for us to understand the gap that is within our profession at the moment, that we respond to crisis, we manage a lot of projects, we advocate for communities, but when it comes to our emotional well-being, it is not really emphasized on. We need to understand that we cannot pour from an empty cup. When we are full, when we are healthy, when we are happy, then the community work that we do, the advocacy that we do will be done from a place where we can also pour life into other people that we come across. And so the eventual cost of not addressing our emotional strain is that it shows up in our relationships, it shows up in our health, and it leads to loss of motivation in the work that we do. So we might have started this profession with a lot of passion, but right now or in the future, that passion might wear off because of a lot of things that we have witnessed that we have not addressed. And so for us to avoid burnout, these conversations that we're having right now are important. We shouldn't only have them during Mental Health Awareness Month. We should have them on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. They're important because we acknowledge that we all go through difficulties. And so the silent letters that we have not written, the letters that we never wrote, could be letters of frustrations that we have never expressed based on our work, grief that we have never expressed from what we have never processed from reading stories and hearing about difficult experiences. It could be our fears hidden behind professionalism. Sometimes fears that we are not good enough, even when we are engaging in the work. It could be exhaustion. It could be emotional struggles, even though we are trying to be resilient. All these are silent letters that we do not write. And this conversation is encouraging us to write these letters to ourselves, write these letters to those whom we feel need to be addressed in the proper spaces that is necessary. So we need to then, you'll find that the people whom we think are the strongest are always going through a lot of struggles themselves. We need to then understand that it is important for us to express ourselves. It is important for us to understand that it is okay. It is okay to say no at some point, to acknowledge when things are becoming too much, to acknowledge when we need to take a step back and address some things in our lives. When we have strong systems and institutions that support mental health, and we have emotionally supported people, then the work that we do will be sustainable. So the systems and the people need to work hand in hand to make sure that mental health is promoted. And once mental health is promoted, then the work that we do becomes sustainable. The peace building efforts, the justice advocacy efforts become sustainable, and we can make more impact. And so my closing words today will be that we need to think beyond just policies and programs. And we need to recognize that as human beings, we engage with these difficult realities every day. We must create spaces where no one feels as if they are alone, where people feel that they are supported, they are understood, and that they are given the right support to address issues of their health. These are the conversations, and this is what I have to share with us today. I'm hoping that later on, if there are questions or clarifications, we would ask that. But thanks for listening, and I hope that we will take something with us as we have listened. Thank you, Angela. Please, I'm handing the baton back to you.
Thank you so very much, Gabriel. Thank you so very much. Wow, that was impactful. That was rich. That was energizing. And for me, my key takeaway is a reflection question that you asked us, that what are some of our coping mechanisms? You shared that intersection of the four sort of like unhealthy ways that people cope. And my only question that I wanted to ask, is it possible for someone to fall in four of them, in all four, instead of just one, the disconnected, the overworkers and all that, all together into one person? But also I love that you challenged us and showed us that there are healthier coping mechanisms. And even as we continue this discussion on the letters that we never send, we're going to get into a creative part. What does a letter that we never send actually look like? If you were to express something in a letter about everything that is going on right now, what would that look like? And for that particular session, I want to invite Miss Kiwang, Patience Oben. Miss Kiwang, the floor is yours. Miss Kiwang is our programs director here at Yoja, and she'll be joining us. She's already here. Miss Kiwang, are you ready?
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm ready. Thank you very much, Angela. I hope you can hear me perfectly. Okay, so this is the letter that I did write and I'm sending. Dear practitioner, good day. I hope this letter finds you well, not just in body, but also in mind. That statement may have left no room for reflection or honesty. So let me rephrase. How are you? How are you really doing? Did you read about the crisis in Nigeria, Tanzania, Chad, Niger, Sudan, and countries? Did your recent research take you down more than the rabbit hole of the darkness of mankind? Were you able to pull yourself back out? Are you really in the room with us, or is your mind lost somewhere in 1990 Liberia, where innocents forced to consume human flesh for immunity? Or in 2000 Sierra Leone, where innocence was forced to become scientists and to start the short sleeve and long sleeve amputation trend? Or on that interview you had with Fiverr, whose memories made them go speechless with soul-wrenching sobs? Dear comrade, do you have any coping mechanisms or have you become jaded? Is your compassion still fueling your passion, or are you running on sheer ambition and coffee? Have you learned how to fend off that chilling wash of helplessness when you think of how much work there is compared to your seemingly little effort? Do I have your attention now? Let me tell you a story you might relate to. Some months ago, I read about the DRC prison fire, the attack and the violent rape of female prisoners, and I could not sleep properly for several nights. I kept seeing the faces of the survivors narrating their ordeal and kept hearing the screams of the dying in my mind. This week, amidst diverse security threats in my country, a new level of kidnapping has been unlocked, that of women and children. Pregnant women have been abducted, women with newborns have been taken, and now a number of teachers and school children as young as 2 years old have been kidnapped and are still being held in captivity, awaiting ransom. I have constant chills of helplessness in my bones. Goosebumps are now almost like a normal feature on my skin. Several questions keep playing in my mind. What is the point? Can things really be changed? How did I even find myself here? What keeps me going is the fact that little consistent effort builds up over time and definitely make a difference. The popular saying keeps coming to mind. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Even Margaret Mead pointed out that we should never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. So today, I bring this to the fore of your mind. Your seemingly little but consistent efforts matter. You are the contenders in the field and boardrooms, the warriors at the desk, fighting with pens, laptops, and phones. You are the light that darkness cannot extinguish. Keep the faith. Do not lose sight of your purpose and keep fighting the good fight. Yours sincerely, Peking Wauben. Over to you, Angela.
Thank you so much, Kiwang. I'm sending hearts, virtual hearts, big virtual hearts for that poem. one of the emotions that you described that I could relate to is that there is that feeling of helplessness, of seeing so many things happening in the world and not being able to help, not being able to just put a stop to it and just say, guys, enough is enough. Many people have died enough. Many people are suffering enough. Let's just end this because, again, it seems like your voice is a bit small. It's like a drop in an ocean, a drop of rain in an ocean. The other feeling that you described is a situation I'm a bit familiar with, I think. When I was much younger, and it is the reason I don't like to watch news a lot. I watched a story, I remember this story. It was about a young girl who was living in one of the rural areas in Uganda. And the parents, she had other siblings. She was a girl, of course. She had other siblings, but the parents had passed and she was orphaned. And so it became like a child. The girl was now the head of the household and she had to fend for that house. I remember being so young and feeling so helpless. I remember going to bed and not being able to sleep. I'm a deep sleeper, and so the times where I have to sleep light because the things just kept going on in my mind and in my mind, and I felt helpless and I felt down. So I could actually relate to what you read out. So thank you so much for putting the emotions that sometimes we don't know about into words that we could see, that we could hear, and that we could understand. It was very touching. And for our next segment, we are going to have a dialogue. We're going to have a conversation. Our panelists are here, and Mr. Gabriel Ubong is going to take this. And even as we have conversations, I want to hear from you also in the chat. So if they say something that you feel that you can relate with, please type it in the chat, or a question that you want to ask. We would take those after, but then please put it in the chat. Please refrain from unmuting your microphone to say something. If you want to say something, please raise your hand after the discussion, and then I'll be able to unmute you, and then you can be able to say something. Because we all just keep speaking over each other, we might never truly listen. So, Mr. Gabriel, whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Angela, for that. Thank you for the piloting job you're doing at the moment. And I'm very grateful to Kiwan for the letter that you've just read to us. It is heartfelt. It comes from the heart. And I'm happy that you've been able to let us into your world and for us to just have an experience of what you have been witnessing in the past few days and weeks. In this panel, in this conversation, we have three people on the panel. Permit me to begin by introducing them. The first on the panel is Heba Assem. Heba is an Egyptian governance and peace building professional, youth activist, and researcher with over a decade of experience in international cooperation, governance, and African affairs. She has worked within the African Union system, including with the African Peer Review Mechanism and the Silencing the Guns initiative, where she contributed to policy analysis, program coordination, and high-level political processes focused on conflict prevention, governance, and peace building across the continent. Heba serves as a North Africa representative for the African Union Youth for Transitional Justice and as advocacy director at YOJA, Advancing Youth Engagement, Transitional Justice, and Policy Advocacy Initiatives. She holds a master's degree in political communication and is currently pursuing a PhD in peace, governance, and development with research interests centered on governance, conflict transformation, youth participation, and sustainable peace in Africa. Welcome, Heba. The next panelist is Christella Nyonzima. She is a transitional justice and peace building practitioner with expertise in gender and conflict sensitivity. She joined Impunity Watch in 2016 and is currently the country program manager of Impunity Watch Burundi office. With a background in political science and international relations, Christella holds a master's degree in peace and governance, as well as her focus on gender equality. She is passionate about arts and culture, particularly their contribution to community-driven transitional justice and their role in restoring the social fabric. Christella has spoken at various expert meetings and conferences on the continent, notably on the subject of gender and masculinities. She has co-produced numerous studies and articles on topics including peace building, post-conflict reconstruction, and on the women, peace, and security agenda. Welcome, Christella. And last but not the least on the panel is Mary Ododa. She's a development specialist and executive director of New Trust Network, where she champions youth and marginalized voices across sub-Saharan Africa through governance, peace, and suppression and violence. Mary serves as the UN Women Regional Civil Society Advisory Group for Eastern and Southern Africa, the UN CSO Coalition on Human Rights and Counter-Terrorism, and founded Jarumi Ventures Africa, a women-led Pan-African strategy firm. Recognized among Africa's brightest young minds and nominated for the International Youth Peace Award, Mary brings to this conversation a deep awareness of the emotional weight carried by those advocating for peace and democracy. Welcome, Mary. Welcome all our panelists. Thank you for accepting to be part of this conversation. I know all of you have a good experience in the field as it concerns peace and justice and transitional justice. And maybe just to set the pace for the conversation, Heba, you have worked in the last 2 years, you have worked with the UN, with the AU, sorry, especially around issues of peace and conflict. If I may ask, why peace and conflict, Heba?
Thank you, Gabriel. Please confirm that you can hear me properly.
Yes, I can hear you properly.
Okay, thank you so much. And I'm very pleased to join this conversation because it's very timely and it's rare to be mentioned in our spaces, especially the work we are doing in peace building and transitional justice arenas. Actually, what made me I wanted to work in peace and security is both personal and academic. So my postgraduate studies was about conflict management. So I studied it about it was just theoretical. I didn't know how it feels to work on the ground, how these things are working on just theory. We are working on theory to analyze the root causes of the conflict, how the peace building processes are going to be, so on and so forth. But as an African woman, I just felt like I'm responsible to be part of solving these conflicts. Not even solving it alone, but also to kind of preventing it, you know? So I felt like obliged that it's my responsibility to take part of these processes, of these efforts. But I know it's difficult, but I didn't know that it's that difficult and that stressful. Because when you are going to work in such arena, you will feel like very passionate that you're going to solve every problem. You are very, very energized that, yeah, I can do that. And there's policy frameworks in place. So you're just going to implement it and that's it. But actually what happened and what is happening on the ground is a total different story. It has an emotional weight that you carry every time you sit and you face a problem, you face a conflict, you face to speak with victims. These things are very, very stressful, and emotionally you will feel like you are very, very, very helpless. And I echo what Kiwang say, I echo what Angela say, and what you have said in your presentation, that most of the time we are not aware that we are carrying this burden. So that's why I joined the peace building arena, and I hope this answered your question. Back to you, Gabriel.
Thank you for that. One of the things I have picked from there is that you've highlighted the difference between theory and practice. While things might look very ideal on paper and in theory, we begin to face these experiences real on when we're on the ground. And that is where we tell the difference, and that is how we feel the impact of the work. Just maybe to bring in Christella, you do a lot of work in Burundi with people who have experienced conflict, war, trauma, and just to ask, how has it been engaging in such work over the years?
Gabriel, so yeah, I can hear
Christella,
you.
can you hear me?
So can you
Okay.
repeat the question, because my internet has been off and on. So apologies, I didn't really catch the whole question.
Oh, sorry for that. The question was, you work a lot around conflict issues and environment in Burundi, especially people who have experienced suffering, marginalization, trauma. How has it been for you being exposed to this environment?
First, thank you for inviting me and being allowed to share some of my own experience within in the framework of our work here in Burundi. And I want to echo what Hebata said. I think sometimes we don't realize that we carry this burden from the daily work that we do. And I think I would add also that we may be also the ones also who went through this trauma personally, being affected by this conflict, and then later on you find yourself helping others doing this work, like professionally speaking. But at the same time, you have been maybe victim or an indirect victim of the same crisis you are contributing to resolve. And so I don't know if there is a clear barrier in between your own trauma and the trauma caused by the fact that you have been hearing all these things. And so it's not an easy thing. And I also want to admit that it's not that often that we really think about the work and the effect of it on yourself in the sense that we are doing it right now. And so I don't know if I would really give dispense a response to this question, but it's really heavy thinking about it, and it would be also very hard to put a finger on one thing or something very particular, but maybe it's a mix of your personal story, your personal trauma, and those you hear on a daily basis from the community members we are working with, but also sometimes also the colleagues. And I think it's a very good exercise to do beyond ticking the box of activities that we need to carry and conversations that we need to have. And yeah, try to take that distance, even if it's not really like not possible, but something objective. It cannot be.
Thank you. I like the fact that you've highlighted that although we want to do the work, it's not easy, and we are not doing the work because it's easy. And the fact that you have highlighted how the difficult experiences in the work that we do can sometimes clash with our own experiences of suffering and pain, and how those can then live together and then create more complexities in our lives. Maybe just to bring in Mary here, you work with a lot of young people, especially around issues of peace and democracy. For the last 3 to 4 years, we have noticed within the continent of Africa that the young people are raising their voices, saying that we are tired of corruption, we are tired of being excluded from conversations. This uprising has been met with a lot of violence and force. As somebody who works with these people, how do you feel about this response from government towards the young people?
Hi, Gabriel. Hi, everyone. I hope you guys can hear me.
Yes,
Don't
I
know if
can
you're
hear
able to
you.
see me. I'm in a quite a remote area, so my network might not be the very best. So please allow me to respond with my camera off if that is okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I just wanted to pop in and say hello, but if it's not working, that's okay. Firstly, thank you so much for this space, and it's very rare that as practitioners we asked, "Are you okay? Are you fine?" And I remember when you asked me to speak in this webinar, I actually freaked out a bit because I was like, how much am I allowed to say? How much can I share? Because we carry so much. And from the poem that I think Patience read, I resonated so much with it because I started off my development career in Sierra Leone. And I remember just before just before I left, and I went to do my work there. When I was going to get my visa, um, I had a chat with the ambassador at the time, and he was asking me, so what are you looking forward to? What have you read about the country? And it was such a light conversation where we're discussing about the weather and the food without really understanding what lay ahead. And what I saw on now the community that I was based in was a lot of communities rebuilding after the Civil War. And there were so many young people just trying to survive systems that they did not create. And I was very close to the emotional realities whereby when you read online, when it comes to the statistics and reports, it doesn't capture this. And a lot of my work since then, it shaped my thinking. And I always say that I kind of fell into this because my background is in environmental science. So I'm a natural scientist. And I never truly thought that I would move into peace and security. And a lot of my work since then has been trying to bridge that gap between the lived experiences, policies, and how do we essentially make this big continental and global frameworks, whether we are discussing Agenda 2063, the different SDGs, even the YPS agenda, which we actively work on? How does it mean something to a young person, whether you're in Juba, in Gulu, in Nairobi, wherever you are? How are we able to translate it down to the grassroots? And what has kept pulling me deeper into this space was realizing that young people, especially in conflict and post-conflict settings, are constantly consulted as beneficiaries. We're very good at doing that. But rarely do we trust them as decision makers and actually the architects of the solutions that we're trying to create. But a lot of the times, Africa being the youngest continent, they carry a lot of the consequences of failed systems the most. And honestly, what we're seeing right now across the continent, when you're looking at Kenya, at Nigeria, Mozambique, Madagascar, it's personally affected me, where I don't even think the word uprisings like fully captures the essence of what is happening. It's more like a reckoning. There's an awakening, and I think that young Africans are actually responding to years of frustrations, to exclusion. There's a lot of economic pressure, and just the essence of feeling unheard. And it's shifted something in me whereby I still believe in institutions, and institutions do matter. But I no longer believe change happens simply because institutions are willing to reform themselves. And the real pressure that we're seeing now is the change that is coming from organized young people who are now informed and very courageous. But at the same time, the violence has been so heartbreaking. And once you have sat with families who have lost their young ones to protest, to conflict, displacement, political violence, which is something we see every single day, you cannot be neutral anymore. And this is something that you carry. Um, that so just looking at the emotional weights of it, and the conversations that you have with the different communities, this is now something that I take into meetings that I go for, be it with donors, in policy dialogue spaces, every advocacy space. This is an emotional weight that you carry because now it's no longer just your voice, but the voice of so many that you carry on your back. And you just have to keep on remembering that. And I think, as you said earlier on, it's very hard for practitioners to like sit and think about how is this affecting me. You just keep carrying it on and you just keep listening to stories, because being in this space means that it's not about you. It's about the communities that you carry, but also something that Angeline said in her speech, you also need to remember that you matter and that you have to sit and basically just remember that your mental health matters. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you for highlighting that, especially the difficulty that comes sitting with people and hearing about the loss of a family member or a loved one. Something you mentioned earlier, that when I invited you in for this conversation, you asked yourself, "Wow, how much am I supposed to say? Am I allowed to say?" Right? Which is a natural feeling. But let me ask, why do you think issues of mental health are not really discussed in places of institutions of peace, justice, transitional justice? Why are these conversations among professionals not encouraged?
Firstly, it's expected that you're strong enough. It's expected that because you are the one who's been to school, you are the one who is in the spaces, you automatically understand what you've put yourself in. And I have received comments over the course of my career. Sometimes when you're just venting either to a friend or you're in a space where you're speaking and you're asked, but you chose to be here. Like you are the one who wanted to come and do this work. So the backlash with that is, oh, I don't think I'm supposed to actually say what I'm going through or how I'm feeling, because it's the conversation is usually turned around to no one asked you to be here, no one forced you to be in this space. It's not very comfortable, and I won't lie, there are not a lot of safe spaces when it comes to peace and security, where when you're voicing your frustrations, sometimes some questions come up like, but you do realize the communities you work in have it so much worse. They're going through so much. You are privileged. You are in a space where you are able to pick up your phone and call a friend. You're able to go out for dinner and, engage in other spaces. There are those that you've left behind who never have that opportunity. So you carry so much guilt whereby you feel as though if you express yourself, you are ungrateful, you don't understand what other people are going through, and you're not empathetic to other people's situations. So you shut down, you end up putting up walls whereby you just decide, I'll deal with it by myself, just so that it doesn't look as though you're being insensitive. So a lot of the times, that's some of the backlash that I've experienced.
Yeah, it means that the environment is not safe enough for us to express ourselves. Because when you do it, it comes across as if you're complaining. And speaking of safe spaces, Christella, do you think organizations that work within this space, do you think they are doing enough to support mental well-being of professionals, or do you think there's more that needs to be done?
That's a very big question to respond to in terms of considering that organizations are organized differently, right? And sometimes I think there is existence of frameworks or mechanisms within the organizations which are not necessarily, let's say, professionally speaking, saying these are spaces where things can be shared. Like there is no, for example, a psychologist who will be listening to the staff or people who have been on this field work, things like that. But there are some other ways that are set to allow the people who are on the front of what's being done and who are faced with this work on a daily basis. And those spaces are also to be counted. But what I wanted also to mention is I think one of the obstacles to that, or to the question that Mary was responding, is that there is too much focus on the results, the things that need to be done, the project that need to be carried out, reports and what, and we, as professionals, organizations in general, everyone included, we are also not having this attention on how do we feel about this. Sometimes it's just that question from your colleague you've been with on the field, or your supervisor with whom you may be having these kind of questions, but not necessarily in the sense of being oriented to MHPSS towards what you are doing, right? So I think there is there is a lot of informal ways to do that, and there is also too much focus on the work that needs to be done, and then maybe not too much, not enough attention to how would this be provided, and a lack of balance in between, because all this trauma will be added to the fatigue, the normal fatigue that we go through as on a daily basis. You are not always on the field, you are not always with these community members or people who have been affected, but there are also other aspects of the project and the work that we do. And that fatigue needs also to be handled on its own. And having also this possibility to have other personal mechanisms to handle our own fatigue and trauma and whatever needs to be, yes, taken into account, but the other side is also equally important. So I think there is a need to think of the balance and intentionality behind being really human-centered, not only to be able to do the work, but also to come back on ourselves and our colleagues and the communities and have all these spaces.
Thank you. There's something you've mentioned there that I think is very important. It's about being intentional about programs that support the mental health of professionals within the space. And like you've mentioned, there's a lot then that still needs to be done. Now, away from the institutional angle let's focus on the personal side of it. How do we cope when we have witnessed all these difficult stories? What do we do personally to handle this stress? Maybe I can begin with Mary, and then Heba can say something. What do you do to cope with these difficult stories and stresses that come with the work that you do, Mary?
Okay, so I think over the years, I have tried many ways to be able to do this. So this might be hard to believe, but I'm actually an introvert, which is crazy because I talk a lot for a living. I'm in meetings, I'm with a lot of people, but it gets to a certain level. I'm like, okay, I just need to decompress. I need to be by myself. I switch off all the sounds, noises. And my escape route for the longest time has always been writing. And I think this is one of the best ways that I process things. So whether it's journaling, reflective writing, this helps me put language into what I'm carrying and ideally make sense of what is happening around me. So I think I naturally process the world through quite a bit of reflection. Another thing that has also carried me through, and I think this should actually be my first thing, is my faith. Because you see so many atrocities. There's so many heartbreaking stories, and you're literally listening to this every single day in the different networks that you're in, just conversations that you're having. And I mean, the natural urge is you want to help everybody and you want to make sure that, those that are around you are okay. And it can be a lot when you continue to pour from an empty cup, and you just keep pushing yourself and you just keep going, saying that just one more day, one more email, one more conversation, one more this. And after some point you get to experience burnout. And I used to feel so guilty for resting because I would switch off my laptop and I'm just thinking, wow, I've not reached out to so and so in a minute. I need to check in that they're okay. But I've also come to realize that rest is actually necessary, and not every single thing in your life needs an urgent response at that time, and not every crisis also needs my constant availability. So creating boundaries has been super important. Um, and just having a really good support system. I need to re-emphasize this. I have a really strong support system that I've been very blessed to have over the years, whereby I know that I have certain people that I can go to, whereby I don't even need to say anything, and I know that I'm gonna feel okay. I'm gonna feel safe. I have a group of ladies where we pray together, even when I don't have the words. They just pray over me. And I've also changed my mindset in terms of what therapy is all about, because I used to think therapy was for other people. It was never for me. And I would gladly recommend people like for therapy. I think I have a whole contact list of different therapists, and I will be so quick to basically refer someone and just tell them, please talk to so and so. I think it's important that you share. I think it's important. But I never felt as though that I could be in therapy, because why? I am handling things on my own. So I think just changing my mind on community care, on therapy, on rest. And it's important that all these things that we are doing for self-care, as the Gen Zs love to say, is part of sustaining the work that we do responsibly. Because I've now become a firm believer that the communities we get to serve deserve people who are actually present, and we're healthy, we're emotionally grounded, and not people who are emptied out and we are deflecting, we are projecting because of other stresses that we have. So honestly, I would advocate for therapy over and over again. Also to say that I am a recipient of therapy. I now take rest very, very seriously. I'm very intentional when I know that I need to switch off. Let's say by 9, 10 p.m., I'm done, and I will see your message the next day. So just being intentional, creating boundaries, having a really good support system. And for me, my faith has carried me through a lot.
Thanks for sharing that. What I hear is a combination of a whole lot of strategies that you're using there, personally, community-wise, and even talent-wise. And I think it's important to highlight that there are many things that we can do just to decompress. And so, thanks for sharing that and giving us some insight. Heba, I don't know if you would want to just chime in and just tell us how you've coped, or was there a time when you ever felt like, now I need some kind of support during your time, the work you've done?
Yes, sure. I want first to commend Marie for what she mentioned, because it's very important to know how to cope with it. You have several mechanisms, but not all of them will work for you. So you have to try all of them to decide which one is making you more comfortable and which one is releasing the way over you. For me, I believe, it's to reaffirm my passion, because at times of depression, you will forget why you are there, or why you are doing this, or why you are stressing yourself to this point. But reaffirming that I chose this arena, I chose this field, I want to help, and I'm there. So and this is when faith intervene, is God empowered you to be there in this space. That means you have a mission to accomplish. That means that there are people who rely on you, and you are up to this mission, but you have to be more stronger, and because it's your responsibility. This is one thing. The other thing is that to realize that you cannot solve every problem. You cannot do everything. We are human beings. We have limit of capacity, so we cannot fight over every battle we are in. We cannot help everybody. No, we are doing what we can do. So the best thing that you can tell yourself in this time of feeling so overwhelmed is that, no, I did the best I could do. Now I should rest. to recover and then to continue what I started. This is very important to give yourself as a reminder. Also, the support system, it's very important, but it's challenging at the same time, because at times you will feel that to go to, for example, to your family and tell them that you are overwhelmed, you are down, you are feeling very stressed of the work you are doing. It's stressful as well, because you might think that they will be very worried about you. So they are carrying the burden with you, and you cannot help them as well. So for my I'm talking from my own experience. Most of the time, I hide what is happening with me at work from my family, because I know that if they know that I'm facing all of these challenges or all of these overwhelming situations, they will feel worried, especially that I'm working far from them. So they cannot see me. We are just having phone calls, video calls, and so on and so forth. So what helped me in this situation is to talk to my seniors, my mentors, because they have been through a lot. They have been dealing with that. So they understand that the kind or the type of work we are doing. So they know what is happening with us, and they can give you some support and some ways how to relieve this burden. Also, one other thing is that to know how to stop, how and when to stop. At times, like Mary said, that no, just this email, just this phone call, and then you will be totally burned out, as you mentioned in your presentation. But I believe that when you acknowledge that your mental health and your well-being is very much important, and as much important as your physical health, this is very important for you to acknowledge and to understand, because if you collapse, nobody will help you, and the work will be still going on, and you will not be part of it, and you will feel guilty afterwards about that. So it's very important to know that your mental health matters, your well-being matters, and of course, when it comes to faith, it's always good to, if you believe in God, to talk with Him, because it will like relieve a lot of weight out of your soul. That's all from my end. Thank you.
Thank you, Heba, for that comprehensive insight. One of the things that I like that you've mentioned there is to know our own limits, the much we can do, and accept that we cannot always change the whole world or address every problem. But for the problems that we can able to handle and address, we find some sort of satisfaction with that. We do the best that we can. As we bring our conversation to an end, just to go back to Christella, what changes would you want to see within the justice and peace work as regards mental health? What are some of the changes in the policy, in practice that you would envision and you would advocate for?
Thanks, Gabriel. I think I would advocate for a systematic setup of mechanism, and formal and informal. As we often say that transitional justice is a set of mechanisms which are formal, but also those which are not written anywhere or recognized, but which have been very helpful for people who have been through all this we are talking about. I think when it comes to some specific approaches, we need also to consider that. I want to give an example. I was listening to Heba, and I remembered an experience what we went through as an organization, because there are times and contexts whereby all these formal mechanisms cannot work. So we were. It was a time where Burundi collapsed it was around 2015 crisis. And we are in a context where trust is something really very, very difficult. And in a culture also where it's very hard for many people to hold a secret. And so some people have been failing to go for therapy because they will feel like they are not safe if their stories are not going to be found in the street. And so the experience that we had at that time, it was that there was not really safe space to talk about what we're going through as a community, about the crisis. As a Burundians, it was really something very, very, very difficult. And so the only safe space was within the office actually. And that's where we had a mix of being affected as individuals and also being practitioners who are supposed to be working on given projects where we would meet community members and who would need for our help. So in that circumstances, you will not necessarily go for a psychologist who is also affected like you, who may be politically oriented in a way which is not going to be safe on your side, and yet you need help, right? So these formal mechanisms will not work. So we need to invent and to adapt ourselves to the realities that we are facing, recognize that we need that help, recognize that we need to provide for help for others, but at the same time have that balance. So within a space where there is no mechanism, what do we do, right? So then, coming back to the question, we should understand that it needs to be systematized, but also not only focus on the formal mechanism and look within ourselves what are other forms or mechanisms that will be helpful.
Thank you for that. We hope that most of us here sit in spaces where we could further these conversations and advocate for the implementation of mental health policies in our various organizations that we work with. Maybe the final parting message. Mary, what will you tell? You have worked in this space for quite a while. What will you tell the young people who are coming up in this space, who are beginning to engage in the work, who have a lot of passion for justice and peace policies and discussion? What advice would you have for them?
I think the first thing that I would really like to say to young people is you need to know yourself. And by this, I mean understanding what your values are, understanding your grounding, and remembering that you're joining a much larger legacy of thinkers and organizers, peace builders, and activists who come before us. I know for a fact that I'm standing on the shoulders of those who made it possible for me to just be in the space. And I also want to encourage young people to not lose their imagination when it comes to institutional language. So frameworks, very important. Donor tools, we need them. Strategy documents, absolutely. But don't disconnect from the humanity of the people that we serve. That is something that I'm consistently learning over and over again. And please take your craft seriously. Read. Study African thinkers, African writers. I am a very, very, very huge fan of anything Africa that advances our continent and puts us ahead, and we get to understand what policy is all about. Study African scholars and strike a balance between your passion and rigor, because honestly, in the space, we need people who care deeply, and we also need people who can think very critically and influence systems effectively. And this is going to sound a little bit controversial, but find an issue that you're very passionate about in your community and commit to understanding it deeply. I think it's important to stay connected to the grassroots because sometimes the flashing lights and the cameras and the TV interviews, they can be a little bit overwhelming, exciting, fun. You're meeting new people, but just remember, no matter how many conferences you're in, policy spaces, any leadership rooms you enter, never become too important to sit in community spaces and listen. And my last thing would be protect your mental health early on. Please do not wait until burnout forces you to slow down, because I have been there. I'm speaking from experience. build your community, rest intentionally, and allow yourself to be human outside of your work. Because at the end of the day, I do believe that for our continent, it's going to be shaped by us who choose to participate and show up and organize and imagine things differently and to stay committed because we have a really long journey ahead to actualize all these dreams, all these policies, all this work that we're doing. So we need you. So please rest and take the time for yourself as well. Thanks, Gabrielle.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you for your kind words. And I'm very grateful for the conversations that we have had today, for the insights that we have gotten, for also sharing your personal experiences. They can be encouraging, reminding us that we are human and that we need to also protect ourselves. And maybe just to throw it to the rest of the group, for those attending, we could take 1 or 2 questions in case there are any questions or clarification, or somebody would like to add something. Please, we can take 1 or 2 persons before we round up this panel discussion. Angela, do you see anybody with maybe a question that anybody would like to ask a question?
No, I do not see any questions related to the panel discussion. Yes. But in case they do come in, I'll let you know. But given our time, I think we need to move on. Yes.
Okay. So thank you, Heba. Thank you, Christella. Thank you, Mary, for your conversation, for your insight, for agreeing to be part of this panel, for sharing your experiences with us, and for encouraging us in the work that we do, to remember to be human and to take care of ourselves. Just to put it out there that there are many places that we can seek help, especially with regards to mental health. Organizations like CSVR, even the AU has lines and avenues where you could connect in case you are seeking for mental health. Even here at Yoja, we have a mental health and psychosocial support department headed by yours truly. If you have any questions, clarifications, if you want to reach out to seek support, please write to us and let us know, and we'll respond to you. But apart from that, I want to thank everybody and thank the panelists for partaking in this conversation. Back to you, Angela.
Thank you so much, Gabrielle. Thank you so much. That was very insightful. Thank you, Heba. Thank you, Christella. Thank you, Mary. I've truly learned a lot from all your experiences. I particularly like the statement that don't wait till the burnout happens in order to put, certain boundaries in place to protect yourself. And I'll carry that with me. I hope we've also taken some, I hope everyone else with me on this call has also taken down something. It was very insightful. Yes, it was very insightful. And I look forward to more discussions like this. And before maybe we move on, I see that David Taylor is on the call. David Taylor is a great friend of Yoja from Infinity Watch. And so, sir, thank you for coming, for joining the call. And even as you've joined, when you joined, we thought of a question that we could ask you. And this one is that, what more do you think can be done to help practitioners in the space? What more do you think can be done to help practitioners in the space?
Thank you very much for the words, and also for putting me on the spot. I was not expecting. I was hoping to listen in the background. I think I wouldn't have much more to add other than what colleagues and friends have already said, but I would think that it's probably about having a collective voice in advocating for the importance of everything that you have been talking about today, whether that be convincing donors about why it's important to have dedicated budget lines for internal mental health and psychosocial support for teams and for partners, whether it's intentionally building that into the way that we design programs and projects, but also for all of us, as many of you have already said, about recognizing that sometimes it's okay to take time to switch off and take a step back, that our mental health is also just as important as the people that we're trying to support. So I think it's about intentionality, it's about coordination, but also the advocacy towards those that sometimes ultimately are the ones that control the purse strings, and therefore are making the decisions on whether or not we have the resources to be able to offer this type of support to our staff. So thanks for Georgia for putting together such an interesting and, as many people have said, timely conversation. It's really important to have these discussions as practitioners, so that we're not always just kind of outward looking, but we're also looking inwards about how we can best support people and support our team. So thank you so much. And thank you for putting me on the spot like that.
Thank you, David, for agreeing to stand in the spot. Thank you. Those are very insightful words. I think we should do it a bit more. Thank you, everyone. Honestly, these discussions have been very enlightening, even the addition that David has made. And now I'm going to welcome our Deputy Executive Director, Mr. Enya Echeng, who is on the call with us, to give closing remarks. But even before he does, we're going to have a bit of a practical session. You know those letters that we're talking about that we wanted to express something on this call, and then we wanted to send out. So I'm going to put, I hope I can, a whiteboard on here. And that particular whiteboard is going to have sticky notes of different colors. Yes? And in those sticky notes, you just click on the sticky note and then type. You just click on the sticky note and then type. Do let me know once you can see it. Can you see it? Yes, I think it's there, yes? All right, wonderful. So just a short one, you just click on the sticky note, like so, one, and then you start typing, hello, can you see me? Is that okay? Yes, perfect. I think we can start. Just write something about how you feel right now, how you feel after this conversation, your takeaway. Yeah, just click on any of them. I can add some more. I'm going to add some more. Also, you can use your hands to zoom in and out. Yes. Does everyone have a sticky note? Yes. I'm already seeing some. I feel much better. That's wonderful. Yes. Hi, been amazing. Yes, yes. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Just click on one of the sticky notes and then you can start typing. I see like 2 sticky notes. They don't even have they don't have any people on them. You know, you can also add emojis or stickers to the sticky notes. You just add an emoji, like so. Yes, they're quite small, but okay, we'll be finishing this in the next 1 minute. Then we'll have our closing remarks to what has been such an insightful conversation. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. I can just read some of them. Someone has said they feel so much better. I haven't felt this relieved in a long time. A session was very wonderful. Thank you and need more. Yes. Dear practitioner, let go of the guilt, take a break, close the laptop, talk to someone, breathe. You also matter. That was very insightful. Yes. Hi, been amazing. Let's do this again next time. Let's read the letters we never send. Indeed. Hello, thank you for this session. I feel relieved. Yes, indeed. Just keep them coming, keep them coming. And as you do so, I invite Mr. Enya Echeng, the Deputy Executive Director of Yoja, to share with us the closing remarks. Mr. Enya, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, Angela. Am I audible?
Yes, please.
All right. I've been listening in on the conversation, and wow, that's the expression really for me. It's wow. Wow, wow, wow. First off, I want to start off by thanking our many partners and our guests, some of whom we had to get in touch with on very short notice about this engagement. But they were able to join the conversation today and share their insights with us. We are really grateful for that camaraderie. Thank you very much, Christella. Thank you very much, Mary. Thank you very much, Heba. And to the incredible team at Yoja, thank you very much. I see from some of the comments that we get and even some emails that have been coming in, we did get a few emails during the course of the conversation. A lot of people think this is very important. And I think I even got one particular email that was very specific. See, we have a team of 30 people we think need attention. Please, can you guys come to a specific city in Kenya? If you're on the call, we hear you. And we'll definitely see what we can do about this very important aspect of the conversation. As we come to a close in the conversation, I think we should I'm personally reminded that some of the most important conversations in our lives are often the letters that we never send, the stories we never tell, the words that we often rehash in silence, the grief we carry privately, the apologies we never even receive, the thank yous we never get, the truths that many survivors, many practitioners are never even really given the chance and opportunity to express. For a lot of victims and survivors of conflict, injustice, for a lot of practitioners as well in the space, silence is not empty. It's very rarely empty. It's often filled with a lot of unresolved trauma. There's a lot of fear, the stigma, isolation, and a lot of memories that remain unspoken because the world really hasn't created a safe enough space for us to hear them, to hold these stories. But they are our realities. We can't run away from this. This is why these kind of conversations matter. Conversations like these, I don't think should be optional or secondary. They are very, very essential, as we can tell. And I want to crave the indulgence of my colleagues and to some other partners that maybe it's important that we have this, like a lot of people have said on this, just even reading the notes, maybe it's important that we have these conversations more frequently. Let's think of this as maybe the first part to the letters we never tell. Maybe in curating our programs, we have a session about the stories that we never get to share. Just for those people who would go through take on the burden of trying to make the world a better place. It's important that we have room to share these stories, to find solace in the reality that we are not alone, that a lot of people are also going through the same phase that we are going through. You know, a lot of times justice processes focus largely on documentation, accountability, or institutional reforms, but we overlook the very critical emotional and psychosocial, psychological realities that are carried by us as survivors, by us as practitioners, by our communities. But healing cannot happen where this pain is merely recorded and we do not meaningfully acknowledge them. We hope this conversation today has helped a lot of us process some of this guilt, some of these doubts. You are not alone. This space reminds us that justice must also be human-centered. It reminds us that dignity involves not only being heard, but being supported, not only surviving, but healing, not only remembering this harm, but rebuilding the capacity to hope, trust, and live fully again. As we live here today, may we continue to create spaces where people can speak the words they have carried for years. As an organization at Yoja, we commit to this. So we'll definitely be coming to your city, hopefully, to sit down in an informal roundtable, maybe something we just talk about, just let ourselves breathe, let ourselves hear, say these words, and find healing in our communities. Even the letters we never send, even the stories we never tell. And hopefully, we build systems that respond not only with policy and process, but also with care, empathy, and humanity. Thank you all for joining this conversation. We look forward to bringing you guys together again on a much bigger scale to discuss maybe the stories we don't tell, maybe another time to read those letters that we didn't send. Thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Over to you, Angela.
Thank you so much, Mr. Enya. Thank you very much. This brings an end to our conversation today, but it does not mean that our conversation has ended for life. It is just this session that has ended. But even as we go away from this session, we know that these conversations we can continue to have together. Like Mr. Enya said, if you need any help, please do feel free to email us at Yoja at info@yoja.org. Yes, email us and then we'll be sure to respond. Yes, and if you also wish to partner with us to bring these conversations to different organizations or different spaces, feel free to email us at info@yoja.org. Once again, thank you so very much for coming, for honoring our invitation. We look forward to seeing you in more of these discussions and even in other different discussions that we shall be holding in the future. Have a lovely, lovely day. Bye-bye.